Welcome to the first episode of MCCM Mates Rates podcast. This podcast is a candid and humorous outlook on setting up businesses from some of our friends that we've met over the years whilst we've been in business ourselves. And tonight we have got our first guest on, Fash, aka DJ Fash, aka Dave Fash of 247 Enterprises. So welcome, Dave. You okay, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Nice one. A bit of an introduction out with all the names.
Well, look, I've known you as so many different things over the years. I think we'll just call you Fash for the sake of the podcast. But yeah, so the premise of the podcast, mate, is really to talk through your business journey and rate your experience from start to finish, really. So we'll get straight into it. It's a 20-minute podcast, quick fix, quick fire questions. So question one is, obviously, we know that you've had multiple businesses over the year, but go straight back to the beginning. Tell us about how you started, why you started, and at the end of that, rate your experience for the setup.
2003, I graduated. I had a job for life at BOC Gases. It was like a sales graduate role. Just dead passionate. Went through all the health and safety. Did the full, going through the works of 9 to 5. Like I say, I had a headset on, I was selling gas. I just remember not going to the toilet, holding my pisses in just to get the call stats. So I was like top of the tree. I had a trophy, like a sales trophy on my desk. The passion was there. And then a job come up 2 grades higher. I went to go for the job and the boss pulled me and said, you know, if you go for this job, you're going to get it. I can't afford to lose you off my team. You're propping my team up. So I went home, I thought about it, and I just thought, fuck it, you know what? Wrote my resignation out, handed it in the next day. Next day, she was in tears. I was like, this is weird. She says, you're going to have to do 4 weeks' notice, and will you reconsider? And I said, don't need to do any notice. Made my mind up. I'm done. And she was just in shock. Went home, told my parents, and they just didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. So I was back on the job. So I'd done 6 months at BOC, job for life. Since later, I then discovered that my boss or BOC had earmarked me for sort of director level. And that's why she was so upset. So I don't know how true it is. You know, I've got friends in the family that work there and they said that. And then after that, I got a phone call and it was a bar in Tilsley, local to us all. And my mate said, do you want to take this on? And it was doing 500 quid a week. So I'd just done a business degree. My brother had come out of doing a media degree. Yeah. So I rang him and said, do you fancy a pop at this? He'd just come out of his graduation that year. It was the summer, I'll never forget it. And he went, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. We got a bit of I think we paid about $4 grand, $2 grand each, student loans, whatever we had left. Yeah. Chipped in, and we're just in the wine bar, and it was like infamous. Yeah. Infamous now.
Oh, mate, I had many a messy night in that wine bar, so I remember it well. So tell us about, obviously, fast forward a couple of months on from that. Once the wine bar started taking off, you started up another venture, didn't you, from that?
Yeah, so it was all about, for me, if you're talking about mates and having the support network of your friends, also family. I was just so fortunate because my mum and dad, I lived at home, so I weren't a burden. You know, I didn't have mortgages, didn't have kids. So it was just a free spirit with cheap living, and that's the key. So what we did is regurgitate your profits, and that was the key for us. So we set up, we put Sky Sports in, we turned a £500 business to doing $5 grand. We then bought the building, and then obviously it was only open, it was a weekend bar, Thursday to Sunday. Yeah. So just having a great time, as you can imagine. Probably was in there a few times.
Yeah, for anybody who's listening to this that doesn't live in Tilsley or has never been to Tilsley, it's an experience on its own, isn't it?
Yeah. Tilsley in itself is. But we were lucky because we went to school there. At the time of us opening the bar, these are all sort of lucky little scenarios that happened, but it was on TV. We got paid for like going out pulling birds. So it was on telly. I had all my mates coming into the bar. And it was we just had momentum, you know what I mean? Which you need, you know what I mean? So we bought a building, fast forward, and then obviously we were promoting 247 Party People at the time as well. So them events, they just facilitated people buying more booze. But Monday to Wednesday, we were doing Rock Hall. Yeah. And we were just thinking, and we just thought, and I met this guy coming to the bar, he was a sales rep, and he just said, look, I can do your beer cheaper than anywhere else. And I went, really? I looked at the pricing, I went, well, I can support the other pubs. So I just knocked a quick price list up, and this is exactly what happened. I remember my first month's sales, I did $1,000, then I did 20 grand, and then the month after I did 100k. And then I thought, shit, we need a premises here. Jack Daniels was stacked in the cellar. Again, but you look back to having the right foundations financially, we had fuck all, but we had our parents, and the overheads were low, and that was so key for us to grow. So I was roughing it. I was playing football on a Saturday, as you do. Playing football 2 till, got home at 6. I was in the wine bar cellar, loading a Kangoo van. Remember them ran up Kangoos?
Remember him.
Pointing to the fucking stars. It was overweight, dropping kegs off. And it just spiraled out from there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of the best businesses and a lot of people that we've spoken to in the past, and we will have some of these as guests on the future podcasts, they've come from humble beginnings. And I think part of the mates rates premise and the fact that you do need your mates and your families and good people around you to support that initial start-up period, don't you? Because without that, nothing really gets off the ground if your friends don't support you from the get-go.
1,000,000%. And it was just fortuitous in respect to the amount of social circles through DJing, football, college. So, and it was all localised, and everyone came together, and it was really good. And we had some of the best times, honestly. People still talk about the wine bar to this day.
Yeah.
It was just, we didn't shut, we did by the bar. We didn't shut.
Legal terms and conditions, disclaimer. But I think the 24/7 party people concept, you were talking about it off air before, and I think I just want you to go over that a little bit, because it's a really interesting story, when it came about, the timing of it, etc.
So the timeline. So we was taking pictures when we were out on the piss all the time, and it was just collating them all and putting them on the internet. We'd just come up with his name, 247 Party People. There was me, my brother, and a guy called Philip Altham. He was the web guy. We used to have weekly meetings.
Yeah, I remember.
And he was the geek. Me and our kid were just the party boys that just took all the photos. We had photo agents going out and everything. But the concept that we had was exactly the same timeline as Zuckerberg's Facebook.
Yeah.
So as we were showing massive growth with this, and every week we're going, okay, loads of new members, views are going through the roof, and all of a sudden, because he had the name, the servers, the infrastructure, he just blew us out of the water.
Yeah.
That was our demise, Facebook. But if you look at the timelines, our web domain was created at the same time as Facebook, so we had the same concept, which is the main point.
Yeah. Does this mean you're going to take on the winner of Zuckerberg and Tesla guy?
I'll bash them both together, mate. Put me in the ring with them both.
Yeah, but it was an interesting time, that, I think, because the social media kind of boom was just starting then, wasn't it? And I think something that another one of our guests who we're going to introduce you to at a later date stated rightly was that you used to go out on your Friday and Saturday night, and you'd wake up on the Saturday morning or the Sunday morning, you'd log straight onto that website and see whether your photo had been taken there. Whereas like Facebook, Instagram now, it's instantaneous, isn't it? So it's good to know. But I mean, in terms of your setup, obviously your setup wasn't immediate. It was something that had gradual growth, because there were so many different businesses that you were setting up over a longer period of time to get to this enterprise level.
Yeah, so it all morphed into one eventually. So we had the promotions, we had the bar, and then we had 247 bar supplies. That was like the third part, and then obviously in future it just all amalgamated into one, and then it sort of spread out again with other avenues, which we can go into if you like. But yeah, it was frantic, and it was great, because there's so much luck, but you make your own luck. And I mean this to any entrepreneur: you put the graft in, and the tide turns in your favour. Yeah, it's almost like the law of attraction, which I'm an advocate of. If you visualise, I visualise what I want, and this is, if I go back to when I was studying my A-levels and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you know that. And at the top of it, so the bottom's like sort of food and shelter, and then at the top is what you want to aspire to. And one of my visions, and this ain't bragging or anything, but I had a vision of I wanted a Porsche before I was 30. I think I had a Porsche when I was 27. So I've had to knock down that hierarchy of needs and rebuild it for the self-actualization, which is where you want to be. So I think it's important you have targets, and that's what I'm trying to say.
100%, mate. And I think the whole basis of this podcast alone is to give people advice and insights into how other people have done things. And I think that the one thing that we will get throughout this series of podcasts is that people do this to achieve a target or achieve a goal, no matter how big or small it is. You set out to start your own business to achieve something, don't you? So that's great. I mean, based on obviously your startup experience, and this is where the podcast gets interesting, how would you rate your business knowledge then versus now? So on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your startup experience.
Zero, absolute zero. Zilch, you know what I mean? If this is going out to people that are thinking about going into business, just got to go and do it.
Yeah.
Talking about, being well educated, fuck all. Honestly, until you actually do it. And it might sound a bit blunt, but VAT, tax levels, levies, all these different aspects of business that you don't fucking, honestly, pisses me off. The criteria at school is skewed, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it bought me a bit of time. So I have got two perspectives on this, where I look at my education, it bought me time to live a little so I could make better decisions, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? So, fuck all, zero.
Well, that's great. I mean, it gives people an insight into knowing that you can set a business up if you have an idea with zero clue of how to do it. If you do the research and you put the hard graft in, then you can be a success, can't you? So that's good to know. So I think we'll move on to question 2. So rating your business from the start up, it's now about telling us what you're currently doing, and then at the end of that, rating how happy you are and what you are doing now and how things are going for you now. So tell us a little bit about what 247 Enterprises is currently on with.
Well, I'll just extend the story to where we were, so it's nice and easy. So we got out of the wine bar, we sold the business, we bought the building. So again, it was all about property. So we're regurgitating profits into property. So we bought a few residential, then we went into commercial property. So to this day now, I think we've got about 22 properties all rented. And then from the wine bar, we went the wholesale. So we come out of the pub side of things. We bought additional pubs since as part of our property portfolio. But when we come out of there, we went to Astley. We got a 2,000 square foot unit. Got our first forklift. Started dealing with wagons and stuff like that. And then we lasted there about 18 months. And then we went to Lee, Mather Lane. We got a massive depot there. It's like 16,000 foot. It weren't the best set up because it was an old school building similar to this mill. Well, it was a mill. So we lasted there I think we did about 5 years down there. And then we went to like 22,000 state-of-the-art unit that we built up to, you know what I mean? We couldn't, as much as I wanted to start there, you've got to realise you need the infrastructure. You need to do your time sort of thing.
And what year was it that you moved in there? Because you say you started 2003. So fast forward how many years before you moved?
So it's 20. So we've been there 10 years.
Yeah.
So the timeline is a full 20 years to where I am now.
Yeah.
But from the wine bar 2003, we went limited as limited company 2006. I think was at Mather Lane till about 2010, 11.
Yeah.
So I've done about 10 years now at the new depot.
Yeah.
So now we've got 247 Enterprises UK Limited. We employ 20 lads. There's 3 elements to the business, if you like. So there's the pubs and clubs. We deliver to pubs and clubs 7 days a week. We don't sleep, honestly. The name says it all, 247. Then you've got the ginspiration side, which is the web domains and sweet little drinks. So we've got a portfolio of products that just outsell. Our kids are mastermind at that.
Yeah.
Smashing them out all over Amazon. FBA, the requests are we just can't handle it.
Yeah, we should probably give a little shout out to Arnie at this point, shouldn't we?
Yeah, Arnie, I mean, the truth is, going back again, but in 2003, I was in the wrong circles socially.
Yeah.
I'm quite open and honest about it. I'm not proud about my past. But he said to me, he said, listen, you're going to end up locked up. He said, and you've got to give him a massive shout, because he pulled me and he said, you put all this energy into business and your world's your oyster. And then that was the key for me. It was like a switch. I channeled all my energies into the business, and we just started to take over then, in a good way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's always good to give that insight into the fact that you don't need to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth or have a handout to be able to start something up. And some people do start on the wrong paths, and it only takes a decision to turn that around, doesn't it, and get your life back on track. Because you think about where you were 20 years ago, and I knew you 20 years ago, you know, with your Brill Cream fringe and your Lacoste t-shirts and stuff. But based on what you've achieved over the last 20 years, and without blowing smoke up any of our guests' asses, which is not what we're here to do, you know, I bring people on based on the fact that I have aspirations to either be like them or work with them or take inspiration from them. And you're definitely a brilliant first guest to have on that basis, mate.
Yeah, appreciated. But yeah, it's just dedication for me. Is one of the biggest trait, and this is not preaching by any stretch. But consistency. Consistency. If I was to tell anyone in business, it's all right having an idea and setting something up. Yeah. You've just not got to go away. You've just got to be persistent and consistent, and you've just got to keep doing it. Consistency, even at the gym, for me, the gym, nutrition, fad diets, they're all bollocks. Honestly, you've got to be consistent. If you want to be successful, consistency is the key attribute for me.
Yeah, well, I think based on that last comment there, so obviously you've achieved amazing things over the last 20 odd years. So rate your business experience now. Obviously, you rated it as fuck all for the startup.
Do you know what the truth is? I'd say a 6, because I'm still learning every day. So, you know, every day I self develop in all bits of not just business, just you know. I try and steady my moral compass, if you like. You know what I mean? But it's hard in this day and age. But yeah,
that's good, mate. It's good to stay humble, and it's also good to keep learning as well. Every day's development, isn't it? So,
I don't think anyone as good as they are can be a 10. I just think it's impossible. You know what I mean? Yeah. In my rating scale, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I think that leads us nicely on to the next question. So, tell us about the biggest challenge you've faced as a businessman, and then obviously rate it at the end on how hard that was for you to cope with.
Biggest challenge, fucking loads. Every day is, you know what I mean? Every day can be really challenging. I've had tax investigations. I've had all sorts. Honestly, I've had sleepless nights. I remember once. It was in the wine bar. This is, again, really pivotal moment, because I was buying Reef. Remember Reef? The bottle drink. It's like J2O, but alcoholic, 5%. And we had literally 20 pallets on the wine bar floor. And I was selling them to an Asian cash and carry. And they had to come. We had to handball it. And I knew all the kids. So I was waiting for the dinner hour. So I was like giving them like a couple of quid, and they were coming in and they were just grafting all this stock on the back of this wagon in the middle of tills. And I think we did about 5 loads, and I think the check was about 100 grand, and it was all checks then. But going back, this is 2005, 2006. Yeah. And that was either going to make us or break us. If that check had bounced, but it cleared, and then it just give us the confidence to go again. Yeah. And then we started. The thing is, if you start digging a hole, if you don't do it, and this is my experience, if you don't do it too aggressively, you need it in that industry. Yeah. And we started forging sort of this growth pattern through just selling lots of beer. Yeah. That they needed us. So I could start then demanding better prices. Economies of scale kicked in, and then that's when I really. But it's all
supply and demand, isn't it? I think challenges. There's always physical challenges, there's always emotional challenges, but I think those two always stem from financial challenges. So I think you're always at your lowest emotionally and physically when you don't think you can pay the bills, or you don't feel like you can pay your staff, or you feel like you're letting yourself down a little bit financially. I mean, I remember being in a job that was very, very well paid and hated it, absolutely hated it. moved away from it and felt like I was letting the family down, similar to what you said at the beginning, because you feel like you can pay your mortgage, you can live a cushy life, but you're not really living. And those financial worries then kick in and give you anxiety and emotional issues. But once you're happy, they kind of fall by the wayside a little bit. And then you start to find that the money comes in organically once you're happy.
Yeah, true. I mean, another thing, I remember we couldn't, literally, for the first couple of years, couldn't afford insurance.
Yeah.
So we were doing this trade, we was just being dead careful with our money, and we had to take a calculated risk that we weren't going to get robbed.
Yeah.
There was no fire. It's totally illegal. You know what I mean? But we're going back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just remember, and I was just like fucking pinching myself. Some of the decision making I made then, it was so risky. So risky, you know.
Yeah.
But it's paid off. Would I do it again? Probably, because I didn't have a choice.
I think when you're forced into choices as well, you do that. I mean, we've worked with people that we wouldn't necessarily want to work with just because it pays the bills. And I think that you get to a point in your life where it's either do it and pay the bills, live, or it's not do it and then you're up shit creek because you really are struggling. But, you know, these decisions always mould the person, don't they? And they mould your future decisions as well, because the worst decisions you make early on, the better decisions I find you make later on. So that's great. So in terms of obviously the challenges that you faced, you faced a load there. So it's hard to rate your toughest challenge, isn't it?
I think one, but really, I had a tax investigation, and I totally transparent, because we never took any money out of the business. It was so good, living at home with our parents. And we're like, you know, how are you living? And but we're on this. It was mad, this. So it ended up costing me 50 grand. Took them 4 years to come to a conclusion. It cost me 50 grand. Again, open and honest about it, but it can be traumatic when you're dealing with these people. You know, I had HMRC in with warrants the other week, but I'm seasoned, you know what I mean? I've got nothing to hide. We run an absolutely mint business. We've got a great team around me.
Yeah.
And they're actually shocked, because they turn up with a warrant. They expect you to be sort of nervy. I'm like, no, come on, I'll take you round. And they were loving it, you know what I mean? And I think these are the things, but that 3 hour, I had a 3 hour interview with HMRC. And I'm like, what do they want here? And just like, and then I was in my accountants with them all. And I don't know if you ever dealt with the tax investigators, but it's like, have a good cop, bad cop, someone in the middle. And I just said, the only other thing we've earned is these vouchers we get. That their ears pricked up. And so we ended up settling on 50 grand.
Wow.
So they backdated it all. And we were living off them, because you could go and buy your shopping with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was quite a traumatic
well, I think...
one of another thing, I had a death as well. Rest in peace, John Crawford. One of my drivers died. That was fucking traumatic.
Yeah.
So he was in the office. This was mad, this. Motorbiker. You know Paul Crank.
Yeah.
His brother. He was in the office 5 o'clock. Seen him off. Top lad. Absolute min lad. And that night he died. On a post on his bike.
Flipping heck. And that was on the way back from work?
No, he'd gone for a bike ride, you know, with these bikers and all that.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult to manage. And obviously you got COVID as well.
Yeah.
COVID was really difficult, because I saw the fear on all. I had to stand up and be an emergent leader. Really, I thought that was really challenging, because I was shit scared. And I had to say, look, you're going to be okay. I had to be that sort of father figure, if you like, to them all.
I think you have to have that belief, don't you, when challenges get thrown your way, if as a business owner or a leader or even a manager to a certain degree, if you're not going to stick your head above the parapet and turn around and say, listen, everything's going to be fine, even if you sometimes don't think it is, you're not really doing your job properly as a business owner, are you?
Totally. So, and I think it's like being a captain on a team. And you know that. And, you know, I used to look up to my captain.
Well, I was never chosen as captain, mate. I was always the best water boy 3 years running in the Manchester League, mate.
Yeah, me either. I've never been a captain as such, but you do look up to these, I call them emergent leaders. When the shit hits the fan, you got to step up and be counted.
Yeah.
And I just, against adversity, I seem to rise, which is, it's sort of natural. I'm just being honest. I just, you know, if shit hits the fan, I'm there. And that's what really matters, you know.
And I think that comes through experience and confidence, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, the challenges that you face there, you've mentioned quite a few, so we won't ask you to rate your hardest because it'd be difficult to differentiate between financial difficulty and death because the two polar opposites.
I think the death one was definitely the toughest.
Yeah.
Just obviously the hurt. We had to shut the company and stuff.
Yeah.
And seeing the ramifications of death, because it was family.
Yeah, it's family, yeah.
As well, you know what I mean? So that, I think that was really, really challenging. And it took us a while to get over that.
Yeah.
As a company. It was we went sterile for a bit, because we it was just dead somber, the atmosphere for months and months, you know.
Yeah, but from things like that, like adversity and grief, you kind of, at the risk of sounding mega cliche and cheesy, you do rise from that, don't you? And you move on to successes, which kind of leads on to the next question. So talk to us about your biggest success, mate.
Oh, I don't know, honestly. One of the biggest ones was getting listed. I think the biggest, not necessarily financial, but these are, do you know what? Some of the cheesiest little things. If I can buy something for £1 and earn 50 at it, they're the little things. Like, I'm a whoopsie guy. I love buying whoopsies. You know what I mean? I just love value. But seeing it and doing it yourself. So for me, just trading. But one of the biggest wins that I got the most joy out of, I think me and our kid both did, when we got listed with like Very and Grattan, and we got our products on there. Because they went.
That's mega. That is
they went
really
national.
big.
They went national overnight. Sales were through the roof, and the margins were great. So that was a real success story. And obviously, Amazon now is just steamrolled, and they're just took over. So getting listed, I think, with Very, it was about 5-6 years ago. That was a real proud moment.
Well, it's a top business success, isn't it? And it's probably rated up there with one of your best moments. But we had a little chat before. And you said that your biggest success, you set yourself a target, you said you wanted something, and the first car that you got was?
Oh, have I talked?
No, you talked about your Porsche, but you didn't tell us about the convertible.
Oh, yeah. So this is really relative to the mates in the podcast. So I spoke about coming together. I obviously brought everyone together from a friendship perspective. But when you're separating your true mates, what I class as true mates, as a view to acquaintances, or just what you call mates, someone who you let onto, because there was so many of us. And I remember, I think it was 2006, I was doing really well. Had a bit of disposable income, so I bought a really nice car. Bought an SL500 Mercedes, silver. My first mint car was like proper buzzing.
Yeah, flash Harry, love it.
Just giving it all, giving it large when I ain't convertible. But I worked hard and it was great. And there was a massive difference in opinion in me circles.
The way that people reacted to you buying that.
And it was so clear. Honestly, I can see it now. And it was literally, it was like a dividing water and oil between the two. And my true mates that understood me and understood. Like, I remember one comment was, you should have bought that 2 years ago. Yeah. So they were my true mates, and you work your bollocks off for that. Yeah. You deserve every time I see you, you're grafting, well done. And then you've got the other side, who I class as acquaintances, like, you flash fucker.
Yeah, well, there's a term for it now, isn't it? They call it frenemies.
Yeah.
Where they're your mates to your face, but they don't like the fact that you're a success. And I think any businessman or businesswoman will tell you that they've come across that in their time once they've owned the business.
Just saying, envy is the root of all evil. But and this is where my business slightly different. So my business now is geared up. Just going off on a tangent here a little bit. It's geared up. We don't have a sales rep. Mm-hmm. We sell to our competition. Mm-hmm. So we've got all bases covered. So we trade. We do a lot of high volume stuff too. So we're not sensitive. We don't, because we don't have a sales team. So my business model now, Aldi have got it nailed, and we have the same business model. Every one of my lads now, and this is a really good model. For me, it works, but not for every business. So every one of my lads can put stock away, take an order, take money for an order, deliver an order. So we've got hybrid workers there. So it becomes super efficient.
I think you touched on something before as well, and going back, not wanting to go too far back into the depths of obviously your darkest time in the business, but businesses do become families, don't they?
Yeah.
And the people that you hire because you can feel some sort of connection and click with them.
Definitely.
A lot of businesses will listen to this and they'll say, no, you don't. You base it on experience. You base it on what they bring to the business. That is a factor, but I think the people that I brought into the business are all people who I know I can connect with on a one-to-one level. I can have a crack with.
Yeah.
Tell us about your team.
Well, my team, I just think, so at first, when I first started out in business, I used to micromanage everything.
Yeah.
You mentioned people before that get agitated over certain little bits, and I was that guy. And then I started delegating. You learn these processes. I started to delegate. I let sort of nature take its course.
Yeah.
And this is, I use the analogy of me being like a headmaster now. So I'm a problem solver. So if there's any staffing issues, come to me. If you've got any issues, come to me. But regarding staff, we have a very, very low turnover of staff. Yeah. Because I treat them right. We're friends, we're a community, we're a culture. You know, if you was external, you'd probably feel we were dead cliquey. You know what I mean? But I sort of want that, because you want to, if you're coming into our inner circle, I want that trust. And I've had the same staff for, my warehouse manager, my best mate is my finance guy. Do you know what I mean? And it's all by being right. And honestly, 95% of the staff that leave come back.
Yeah. I think that falls perfectly in line with obviously the concept of this podcast, is that you can have friends in business and you can make friends in business. And not only that, the people who support you properly contribute heavily to your successes.
Definitely. You see, this is the thing. I don't think, you know, I don't think you need the iron fist. I don't think you need to manage like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got standards, of course I have, and I aspire to the stars every day.
Yeah.
But you've got to be realistic. And what we do is quite monotonous.
Yeah.
So, like, whereas I'll speak to my competition, it's getting them sweeping up at 5:30 I'm like, no, fuck off home.
Yeah.
Go home. Take the road. I have this saying, and it's rough with a smooth. You know what I mean? When we're busy, I expect you to tuck in. And when we're quiet, rest. Yeah. Rest. Do you know what I mean? And that is, throughout the company, we pay the same rate of pay. If you finish at 2:30, so a lot of the lads finish at 2:30 and 1:30 on a Saturday and a Sunday, but they get the same rate of pay.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. If your work's done, it doesn't matter whether you've done 5 hours or 10 hours, as long as the work's done.
But it's down to me to find them more work.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? So I take the responsibility, and I'm accountable for that.
Yeah, yeah. That's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I think that it's testament to obviously where you started to where you are now, that you can achieve that level of trust with your team, and also they trust you as a manager as well. It's great. Finally, mate.
Go on, mate.
Rate your happiness in your business at the moment.
Oh, God. Mate, rate 7, I'd say.
Yeah, 7?
Yeah, 7, I'm not content, nowhere near.
Yeah?
I'm just getting warm.
Love
honestly.
it.
I rate myself as a 6 for knowledge, but 7 because it makes me happy what I do. I think this is really important. One of the main things, I love trading.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can't have a day off. I can't go abroad. Honestly, I have a couple of weekends away, and that's me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm always on my phone. I just love the business. I just love business.
Yeah.
And, so 7.
Yeah.
7.
I think we should explain at some point, and obviously it's something that I'll put as a precursor to most of the podcasts, is the reason I'm asking the guests to rate stuff is to get a full understanding of where they see themselves, where they've been, where they are now, and obviously where they aspire to be in the future. Because I think you rightly touched on something before. Anyone who rates themselves as a 10 is not looking at the wider picture, are they?
Never.
No.
I don't think I'll ever, as much as I want to be. Do you know what I mean? You're going off 10 being perfect. You know, I think this is where a lot of people get carried away with business. Yeah. And you've got to be a realist.
You've definitely give yourself a 10 as a striker at some point, though, on the pitch, haven't you?
Fucking 12. I've had a few double hat-tricks. You know what I mean?
I knew it. And final parting note, at the risk of being a bit too Jeremy Kyle or Jerry Springer, what advice would Dave Fash give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Well, I get asked all the time, and I get past business plans, and I don't even look at them. And the truth is, if I can give anyone advice, there's a saying, movers and shakers. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Just go and fucking do it.
Yeah.
Move. Go and do it. Don't think about it. And that's been the premise of my success, is I don't think about shit. If I've got an idea, I just go and do it. And if I fuck up, it's for the better. It's for the greater good. And I can learn off that, them mistakes. But yeah, just go and do it. Don't even ask. Just go and fucking do it.
Spot on. Ladies and gents, Dave Fash, check him out, 247 Enterprises online. You've been a brilliant guest, mate. Really appreciate you coming on.
Cheers for having us, Richard.
Thank you very much. Thank you.